The Hittites, once rulers of a mighty empire, faded into obscurity for millennia. Their vast kingdom in Anatolia, now modern Turkey, was a major power in the ancient Near East. They rivaled the Egyptians and Babylonians for centuries. The Hittites were fierce warriors and shrewd diplomats. They left behind a rich legacy of art, architecture, and written records. Yet, for centuries, the Hittites were little more than a name mentioned in the Bible. Their story remained hidden beneath the sands of time. In the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeologists began to unearth the remnants of their civilization. Excavations at their capital city, Hattusa, revealed a treasure trove of artifacts and thousands of clay tablets inscribed with their language. The Hittites emerged from the shadows of history. Their empire, though long gone, offers a fascinating glimpse into a lost world. Their story is one of ambition, innovation, and resilience, showcasing the dynamism of ancient civilizations. Let us delve into the world of the Hittites, exploring their rise, their achievements, and their eventual fall. Their story is a reminder that even the mightiest empires are not immune to the tides of time. The Hittites were not native to Anatolia. They were an Indo-European people. This language group spread across Europe and Asia. The Hittites migrated to Anatolia from the Caucasus region around 2000 BCE. They settled among the native Hattians, gradually assimilating their culture and language. The Hittites established their kingdom centered on the city of Hattusa. Hattusa was strategically located in north-central Anatolia. It commanded important trade routes and fertile lands. Over time, the Hittites expanded their influence, conquering neighboring kingdoms and forging alliances through strategic marriages. One of the most significant figures in Hittite history was King Hattusili I. He reigned in the 17th century BCE. Hattusili led successful campaigns against rival kingdoms in Syria. He expanded the Hittite sphere of influence southward. His reign marked the beginning of the old Hittite kingdom. However, it was under the later kings of the new kingdom, starting in the 14th century BCE, that the Hittites reached the zenith of their power. Kings like Suppiluliuma I transformed the Hittite kingdom into a mighty empire. The Hittite Empire reached its greatest extent under Suppiluliuma I, who reigned around 1344 to 1322 BCE. He was a brilliant military strategist and a cunning diplomat. Suppiluliuma I expanded the Hittite Empire eastward into the Armenian highlands and southward into Syria. He challenged the powerful Egyptian Empire for control of the Levant. The Hittites were renowned for their military prowess. They were among the first to develop iron weapons. Iron was stronger and more durable than bronze. This gave them an advantage over their enemies. They fielded a well-organized army. It consisted of infantry, charioteers, and auxiliary troops. The Hittites were also skilled in siege warfare. They used battering rams and siege towers to capture heavily fortified cities. The Hittite chariot was a formidable weapon of war. It was lighter and faster than its counterparts in other armies. Hittite chariots typically carried a driver and a warrior, armed with a bow and arrows. The Hittites developed sophisticated tactics for using chariots in battle. They often used them to break up enemy formations and to pursue fleeing troops. The Hittite military successes were also due to their efficient logistical system. The Hittites built a network of roads and supply depots throughout their empire. This allowed them to move troops and supplies quickly and efficiently. The Hittites also developed a system of signal fires. They could communicate rapidly over long distances. The Battle of Kadesh, fought in 1274 BCE, was one of the largest and most significant chariot battles in ancient history. It was a clash of titans. The Hittite army, led by Muwatalli II, faced the Egyptian forces under Ramesses II. Both rulers claimed control over the strategic city of Kadesh in Syria. The battle was a fierce and bloody affair. Both sides suffered heavy losses. The outcome of the battle was inconclusive. Both sides claimed victory in their own records. However, the Hittites were able to prevent the Egyptians from capturing Kadesh. The Battle of Kadesh had far-reaching consequences. It led to a stalemate between the Hittites and the Egyptians. Neither side was able to gain a decisive advantage. This stalemate eventually led to the signing of a peace treaty between the two empires. The Treaty of Kadesh, signed around 1259 BCE, was a landmark agreement. It is the earliest known peace treaty in history whose text survives. The treaty established a lasting peace between the Hittite and Egyptian empires. It also provided for mutual assistance in the event of an attack by a third party. The Treaty of Kadesh was a testament to the diplomatic skills of both the Hittites and the Egyptians. It was a remarkable achievement in international diplomacy. The treaty ensured peace and stability in the Near East for several generations. Section 5. Administration and Law in the Hittite Empire. The Hittite Empire was a sophisticated and well-organized state. It was ruled by a king who was considered the supreme authority. The king was the head of state, the commander-in-chief of the army, and the high priest. He was assisted by a council of nobles. The Hittite Empire was divided into provinces, and each province was ruled by a governor. These governors were appointed by the king and were responsible for collecting taxes, administering justice, and maintaining order. The Hittites developed a complex legal system based on a code of laws. Remarkably, the Hittite laws were quite humane for their time. They emphasized restitution rather than retribution and protected the rights of women and children. The Hittites had a well-developed system of taxation. They levied taxes on land, trade, and livestock. These taxes were used to fund the army, the administration, and public works projects. Additionally, the Hittites developed a system of weights and measures which facilitated trade. Section 6. Hittite Religion and Mythology. The Hittites were a deeply religious people. Their religion was polytheistic. They worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Many of these deities were borrowed from neighboring cultures, particularly from the Hurrians. The Hittites assimilated these deities into their own beliefs. The most important Hittite deity was the sun goddess Arina. She was considered the protector of the Hittite kings and the patroness of the Hittite state. Other important deities included the storm god Tarhunt, the weather god Telipinu, and the protective goddess Ishtar. Hittite mythology was rich and complex. It was influenced by the myths and legends of neighboring peoples. Hittite myths often dealt with themes of creation, fertility, and the struggle between good and evil. One famous myth tells the story of the storm god Tarhunt, who is defeated by the serpent Iluyanka. The goddess Inara helps Tarhunt to defeat Iluyanka and regain his throne. The Hittites believed in the importance of rituals and sacrifices to appease the gods. They performed elaborate ceremonies to ensure good harvests, victory in battle, and the well-being of the king and the state. The Hittite king played an important role in religious ceremonies. He acted as an intermediary between the gods and the people. Section 7. The importance of iron and trade. The Hittites played a crucial role in the spread of ironworking technology in the ancient Near East. They were among the first to exploit iron ore and to develop techniques for smelting and working iron. Iron was more readily available than the tin and copper needed to make bronze. This gave the Hittites a significant advantage over their rivals. The Hittites used iron to produce superior weapons and armor. Hittite iron swords, spears, and arrowheads were stronger and more durable than the bronze weapons of their enemies. Hittite chariots, fitted with iron axles and fittings, were lighter, faster, and more maneuverable. The Hittites also used iron for agricultural tools, such as plows and sickles. This increased agricultural productivity and contributed to the prosperity of the Hittite Empire. The Hittites were keen traders. Their control of important trade routes across Anatolia allowed them to acquire raw materials, such as silver, copper, and tin, which they needed for their industries. The Hittites exported textiles, metal goods, and agricultural products. They traded with Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Aegean world. This trade brought wealth to the Hittite Empire and spread Hittite cultural influence far and wide. Section 8. The fall of the Hittite Empire. The Hittite Empire, like many ancient civilizations, eventually succumbed to a combination of internal strife and external pressures. By the late 13th century BCE, the Hittite Empire was in decline. A series of weak rulers, coupled with economic difficulties and internal rebellions, weakened the central authority of the Hittite state. Adding to their woes, a severe drought, lasting for several decades, ravaged Anatolia and the surrounding regions. This drought disrupted agriculture, leading to famine and social unrest. The weakened Hittite Empire, struggling to maintain its authority, faced a new wave of invaders from the west, known as the Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples were a mysterious confederation of seafaring raiders. They wreaked havoc on the eastern Mediterranean in the late Bronze Age. The Sea Peoples attacked coastal cities, disrupted trade, and contributed to the collapse of several empires, including the Hittites. The Hittite capital, Hattusa, was sacked and burned around 1200 BCE. This marked the end of the Hittite Empire as a major power. The once mighty Hittite Empire fragmented into smaller, independent Neo-Hittite states. These states continued to flourish in southeastern Anatolia and northern Syria for several centuries. They preserved aspects of Hittite culture and language. The fall of the Hittite Empire was part of a larger collapse that brought an end to the Bronze Age in the Near East and the Mediterranean. This period, known as the Late Bronze Age collapse, saw the fall of several major civilizations, including the Mycenaean civilization in Greece and the Egyptian New Kingdom. Section 9. Rediscovering the Hittites, a Legacy Revealed. The Hittites, once lost to history, were rediscovered in the 19th century CE. Archaeological excavations at Hattusa, beginning in the late 19th century, unearthed the remains of the Hittite capital. They revealed a wealth of information about Hittite civilization. Thousands of clay tablets inscribed in cuneiform script were discovered in the ruins. Their story continues to fascinate and inspire us today.